Chapter 90: The Use of Military and Military. Jiong's face was depressed. "I'm not making a scene. What are you shouting about?" Steeply, with Gu Hai shouting, countless Dayuan people in the four directions heard Gu Hai's voice. And some of the people who were building houses suddenly had a pale face. Mr. Gu's voice, going after Mr. Gu again. Wu Yu Academy, in the first place, was trying to make Mr. Gu lose face. As a result, Mr. Gu's literary talent was so great that he was fine. I heard that they forced Mr. Gu to leave the Mo Mansion earlier, and now they're going to go looking for Mr. Gu's trouble again. If it wasn't for Mr. Gu, we would have died when the Divine Blood Army entered the city earlier. Who dares to trouble Mr. Gu? At once, a large number of people surrounded towards Gu Hai's residence. Mo Yike, however, steeply changed his face, because Gu Hai's cry, however, made Mo Yike guess that Longwen Yu might really not be in the metropolis anymore. Mo Yi care, but more and more anxious, looking towards the big formation behind Gu Hai, also imperative in general, must go in to see. Qin Zibai frowned slightly, but not yet as perceptive as Mo Yu care, but always feel that something is not right. Jiong is staring at Gu Hai, shouting so loudly for what? Look, there are people starting to gather around. Gu Hai, it's useless even if your voice is loud. You want to frame me. Just one shout from you is enough. Jiong glared angrily. Theft. Steeply, Gu Hai covered his chest and a mouthful of blood spurted out. His face flushed red. Jiong was crumbling inside. Gu Hai, you're playing too hard to get, right? It was just a moment ago, within the Fire God Palace, the ceiling boundary that wrapped the Fire God cracked a thin slit. With a roar, instantly, the rolling fire rushed straight out. Now that only a slit had opened, Gu Hai's Fire God Palace was going to be unable to take it anymore in general, and the great fire rushed straight out in all directions of the body. The major God Palaces kept surging out power to suppress it, but the power of the flames was too great. Gu Hai was somewhat unable to suppress it, and immediately, a mouthful of reverse blood spurted out, his face flushed with grey. Heaven and earth, this was really Gu Hai being injured, not pretending. However, in the eyes of Mo Yike, Qin Zibai and Shi Young, it was Gu Hai who deliberately pretended to be injured. Mo Yike's eyes widened, just now, when Gu Hai shouted. Mo Yike knew that he wanted to plan Jiong, their own use of Jiong's recklessness to break into the interior, but the ancient seas planted Jiong, crack their own scheme. But Mo Yike did not think the ancient sea play so hard. Also forced out a mouthful of old blood to wrongly accuse Jiong. This planting, too much money down the bar. Mo Yike unconsciously took a step back. Qin Zibai is not clear, but also can see that Gu Hai is planting Jiong, frowned slightly, looked at Mo Yike, immediately analyzed clearly. This was Mo Yike and Gu Hai trading blows. Jiong, who was the victim, was currently glaring at Gu Hai's mouthful of blood. Was this blackmail? I didn't do anything. What do you want? Jiong stared at Gu Hai and instantly said angrily. This angry look was instantly seen by the approaching people. Mr. Gu is injured. Mr. Gu was injured by Jiong. It's that scourge Jiong. Mr. Gu was beaten and spat out blood. At once, the people who were close by gave the verdict. Bastard, who dares to frame me? Jiong glared at the people who had slandered him not far away. Jiong still wants to kill and silence. Mr. Gu, you don't have to be afraid. The old man's life was saved by Mr. Gu. We won't let Jiong harm you. We're going to ask His Majesty for an order to go to the Book of 10,000 people. Jiong is a foppish man, and he has plagued the benefactors of the Great Yuan as the source of the scourge of the country. Your Majesty, he young the foppish, a source of woe to the nation and a plague to the people. Please make a decision, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, when a country is in chaos, there must be a demon. Jiong is a demon, wreaking havoc on the country and the people. The people cried out and rose, And Jiong suddenly looked sad and angry. I didn't do anything and Gu Hai wasn't harmed by me. Even though the people were all on Gu Hai's side, Mo Yikei's eyes were getting colder and colder. With Gu Hai behaving like this, the chances of Long Wenyu not being in the metropolis were getting bigger and bigger. Gu Hai, you're just pretending. You're pretending, Xiong angrily shouted. Gu Hai really wasn't pretending. At this moment, he was covering his chest, and it was difficult to speak. Theft, theft. Gu Hai once again spat out mouthfuls of blood. Mr. Gu, are you alright? The surrounding people instantly gathered around with worried faces. Jiong, what kind of evil tactics did you use on Mr. Gu? Jiong, you have a cruel heart, the son of a rebel, the demon of the country. The people who were close by, but sensed that Gu Hai seemed to be really seriously injured, and immediately commanded to condemn Jiong. Jiong. Shi Yung stared at Gu Hai. People cannot be shameless to this point. 10,000 people pointing out. 100 mouths can't be defended. Never only oneself slandered others, not yet been slandered by others. Jiong instantly showed a look of anxious anger. A side of the ink is also guessed it whispered to Jiong said. Gu Hai deliberately so. But in order to not allow us to enter its mountain village, Long Wenyu, maybe he quietly sent away. Jiong's steeply face changed. Jiong, although not as smart as Mo Yaika, but this shallow reasoning. Before Shikong King or Jiong said, at least at the moment blockade of the army of the metropolis, are Shikong King arrangements. Jiong understand the importance of Long Wenyu on the Daiwan. Mo Yoka a little wake up. Immediately understand why Gu Hai wrongly accused himself. Come on people, the nearby guards. Still not coming over. Jiong steeply bellowed. Mo Yike and Qin Zibai, however, stepped back. Jiong made a move, rumble. At once, a large number of nearby armies approached. This place was in chaos, and there had already been armies approaching. And with a shout from Jiong, they suddenly turned their eyes to the near vicinity. A large army to suppress a riot. The faces of the surrounding people changed. Set aside these unruly people for me. Open the way for me. I want to enter the mountain village. Quick. Jiong gave an order. Jiong wanted to enter the mountain villa to check if Long Wenyu was still there. The 3,000 soldiers who had just arrived opened their mouths in shock. Young prince, this is Mr. Gu's manner. A general at the head said with an ugly face. Not long ago, Gu Hai had saved the entire city, including these soldiers, regardless of life and death. And now, how long had it been before they had to deal with Mr. Gu? The 3,000 soldiers naturally looked reluctant. What are you looking at? Still not quick enough to set aside the unruly people, Jiong droned. 3,000 soldiers face anxious. This kind of enmity will revenge things. We really cannot do out. But their own this army under the management of Shikong King, the young king ordered, and cannot not respect. A moment of anxiety. Look to Mo Yaik and Qin Zibai. Mo Yaik and Qin Zibai naturally cannot take a position. They still want to enter the mountain village to see the truth. 3,000 generals struggled in their hearts, weighing the situation, and were about to decide for themselves. In the middle of the crowd of people, an old woman walked up to a soldier, and grabbed him by the ear. Mother, let go. So many people. The soldier said with a face of confession. Little brat, if it wasn't for Mr. Gu, my old mother, I would have died long ago. Mr. Gu is our family's great benefactor. Now you're helping this chaotic son of a bitch against our family's benefactor. You're just a big shot because you're wearing this skin. When did our family produce a sinful son like you? Mother, I'm wrong. Don't pull my ears. That soldier said bitterly. Not only this one, several people rushed forward. Sinner, don't you want to deal with Mr. Gu? Go ahead and step on your fathers and my corpses. Step. Helping the demon of the country against our family benefactor. Back then I should have shot you on the wall. Save you from losing the face of your ancestors. Nephew R, if you do this unconscionable thing today, what face will you have to go back and face your parents, wife and children tomorrow? The counting of the people was terrifying, especially the families of the 3,000 soldiers. At once, the 3,000 soldiers were in chaos, searching the ancient sea villa. Just kidding, 1 foot in today, and tomorrow they would be drowned by the saliva of their relatives. Mo Yika laughed slightly bitterly on the side. Fortunately, he had found Jiang to come. Otherwise, after today, his reputation in Doyuan would be completely ruined. Gu Hai covered his chest, trying to suppress the flame in his body. His face flushed, surrounded by the people and the army in chaos. How does this enter? Jiang looked at the army wasted. He was suddenly furious. Bastard. The one who saved you is His Majesty, not Gu Hai. The people steeply stopped their voices and looked at Jiang, the son of a chaotic minister, demon of the country, white-eyed wolf. At once, a sound of counting, all around, more and more troops came. The same more and more people surrounded, to the People System Army. The soldiers do not dare to raise their swords to kill to the people of the Great Yuan, and also reluctant to break in. They could only make the situation louder and louder. Little Prince. There were 2 black-clothed guards who arrived in front of Shi Yong. The 2 black-clothed guards were all surrounded by chair flames, and were obviously strong. You guys came just in time. Don't need to protect me. Give me to break in. Gu Hai can't stop you. These unruly people can't stop you either. Give me a road. I want to go in. Jiang gave an order. Yes. The 2 guards let out a loud shout. Boom. A huge aura blossomed around the 2 men. Heaven opening palace. Gu Hai's face sank. The moment the 2 guards' aura was released, it immediately lifted all the surrounding people and troops. Boom. The people lifted off, and there was a burst of cursing and drinking, but they couldn't stop these 2 strong men from the heaven opening palace. Just as Jiang's face showed a scowl and led the crowd to break in. Swoosh. Steeply, a golden stream of light shot from the distance. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the golden stream of light had already arrived in front of the 2 guards. Not good. The 2 men's faces abruptly changed. At the same time, the swords chopped away. Boom. However, it was a golden arrow feather that blasted the 2 guards apart and went straight at Jiang. Go. Qinzi Bai steeply bellowed and chopped upwards with his sword. Boom. Only then did the arrow plume deflect away and rush upwards into the sky. It was so close that Jiang was almost killed by an arrow. Jiang was shocked into a cold sweat. Qinzi Bai's face sank as he looked towards the person who was getting closer in the distance. Boom. It was Li Shenji, who grabbed his longbow and landed steeply beside Gu Hai. Li Shenji. Jiang was steeply furious. An arrow just now had almost killed him. On the side, Mo Yika was the one whose heart had fallen to the bottom. Gu Hai used literature and used public opinion to block the search. Li Shenji used martial arts to block the search. In this way, not only does force not work, but the excuses are also gone.